Hey everyone, Cadian Sergeant Steel here. Today, I want to talk to you about one of the coolest units for the Astra Militarum, and something you might not be expecting. The Hades Breaching Drill. So let's talk about one of the most rare transports in all of the Astra Militarum, and something that really is off of everyone's radar most of the time. That, of course, is the Hades Breaching Drill. So these are a resin kit produced by Forge World, and they originally were used by the Death Korps of Krieg. In recent editions, they have opened this up for other regiments. And now, not as much or almost nothing is locked behind regiments other than certain key characters like Cadian Castellans, kind of, and the Field Marshal for the Krieg, but almost nothing else is locked behind the Regiment Association anymore. So these are now available for everybody to use and are a really cool vehicle. What they are is a subterranean assault vehicle. So these are meant to bore under the ground, under defensive lines, and then pop up behind or in front of the enemy in a surprise assault. These are some really cool models. You can't really see inside of here, but there is a melt-a-gun inside of there. It doesn't have a shooting weapon. We'll talk about its profile and everything here in a little bit, but it's got this cool conveyor belt. It's got these drills that kind of cut through the rock and dirt and then bring it up through here and dispose it back, and a spot here where you could put a driver with the control panel on it. Really cool model, easy, fun to build. I do recommend trying out, if you've never tried weathering pigments, this is a great model to do it on, just because it's got so many like little places you could add that cool weathering. And this is a model that wants to be dirty, right? You've just bored through the earth in order to make your attack. So this is something you want to do something cool like that with. So really great models, something I think you should definitely check out. So anyways, let's talk about the unit. Let's talk about what you might want to do with it in game. So this does have a very different profile from most vehicles in the Astra Militarum, and very different rules as well. So let's talk about this. Its profile is movement 6 inches. This is very slow moving. It only moves as fast as regular infantry units. It is toughness 9, so it's very durable. It has a 3-up armor save. It has 8 wounds. This thing is more resilient than a Scout Sentinel. Keep that in mind. Leadership 7, and it does have an OC of 2. So in that way, it's also similar to the Sentinels. So decent little vehicle, very resilient. But what really starts to set this apart? Let's talk about its weapons. It has no shooting weapons, even though when you model it, there's a melt-a-gun inside, and the way they're treating that now, I guess it's more for the idea of it needs to blast a melt-a-charge into the rock to be able to bore through, but then you can't fire that at the enemy. So instead, it's a melee-only weapon. So it's the Melt-a-Cutter Drill. It has 6 attacks, hitting on 4s, but here's where it gets spicy. It is Strength 9, -4 AP, D6 plus 2 damage. This is a 6 attack hitting on 4s Melta melee weapon. This thing will absolutely eat through armor, especially if there's not an invulnerable save there. So that's all of its weapons. That's it. It doesn't have any shooting. It's really slow, but it is resilient. So why would you want to bring this? Here's why. It has the core ability Deep Strike. That's right. This drill can deep strike onto the table. That means you could use rapid ingress. You could bring it in from reserves and pop up anywhere more than 9 inches from enemy models. It's absolutely critical. This means this is one of the highest mobility units in the Guard, besides Scions themselves, who can just deep strike as infantry onto the table. But these can do it as a vehicle. Now, their special rule that sets them apart from everything is subterranean assault. What that does is each time you set up this model on the battlefield using the deep strike ability, you can select one friendly Astra Militarum infantry unit in strategic reserves. So that's it. You've placed a unit strategic reserves, you're bringing this in, select one of those units. You don't have to do it when you're setting up for the game. You do it when you bring the unit in. That also means you could select a unit who's been put in strategic reserves because of the reinforcement stratagem. If you do, set that unit up anywhere on the battlefield that is wholly within 9 inches of this model and more than 9 inches from enemy units. Within 9 inches of this model. I want you to visualize how far that is. So let's move a couple of these out of the way. As always, I have my Cadians here. So here's the drill. Let's say I've just brought it in from reserves. Let's visualize this. Here's the drill. Here's an infantry squad. And here's a command squad. And here's the Castellan at the end. That is 9 inches. Okay? Look, look at the distance you can cover. And then you can use this as a bit of a shield. And so that's a 9-inch diameter around this model. Anywhere within 9 inches of this model, you place this unit. So if you had ruins right here, you could place this unit away from the Hades breaching drill and into the ruins and into cover, as long as it's within 9 inches of the drill. That is some amazing flexibility in terms of how to deep strike your units. That means you could put the more resilient vehicle out in the open, and then you could hide your infantry behind line of sight blocking terrain, or in ruins, or in a crater, or in a forest, or wherever. That, you have ultimate flexibility in this. Or maybe it's because when you deploy this, you want to maybe have this unit, your infantry unit, closer to a target that they're going to go after, and maybe put the drill over here so it can go after like an elite unit or a vehicle unit with its melee attacks if it succeeds on the charge. And this way, you've now divided up what the two units are doing in the role they're playing. And if this thing succeeds on a charge, that is a whole different level of tactics and strategy that you could deploy with this unit. So let's talk about tactics and strategy. Now that you understand, that's it. That's everything about the drill in terms of its rules as written in its data sheet. So what would I recommend to do with this? Well, I think the first thing's pretty obvious. I will recommend that you could definitely take a giant blob of infantry and bring them in with the Hades breaching drill. I think it's an excellent strategy. It's a great way to do it. The only thing you're at risk about with this is that you got to make sure there's room on the table, right? When you're bringing these in from reserves, is there a spot where you're going to be able to get more than 9 inches away from enemy models? Depending on what army you're playing against, that's going to vary. So just keep that in mind. This may not be ideal for every matchup, but it's definitely some amazing movement that you can use and bring in a lot of infantry. This could be one way you could play it, like I mentioned earlier. You don't even have to have your infantry in reserves at the start of the game. Maybe they get killed. Maybe you intentionally bring a 20-man squad, you rush them forward, they capture an objective, you get destroyed. Well, okay, then you pay 2 CP for reinforcements, you put them into strategic reserves, you have one of these, and then you bring them back, and it doesn't have to be within 6 inches of a table edge, it's anywhere on the battlefield because you have the deep strike rule. That right there is some amazing tactical flexibility. That right there is the kind of stuff that a clever commander can use to win the game. So this is where the Hades breaching drill can really come in and make a huge difference in the game that you're playing. What other units and what other tactics might you use? So Cadians are one. You can bring them in, capture an objective, right? That's what Cadians do. We come in and they have sticky objective, and that's really great. So this way, even if you get taken out, you still hold that objective. Great thing to keep in mind. The other thing I might recommend for this, oops, sorry, I accidentally hit my light. So the other thing I might recommend, besides Cadians, and this was, by the way, this is only a 10-man unit with my infantry squad, but just keep in mind, you can make it, it's just select a unit, by the way. So don't forget when you attach your leaders, like here, I got a Castellan command squad, 20 Cadians, that's a single unit. Oh, I added an Ogren bodyguard too. That's still a single unit. This doesn't have a transport limitation. It does not have a transport limitation. Look at this. I'm bringing in 27 models. If I added in regimental attaches, it'd be 30 models with a Hades breaching drill. There's no limit. Keep that in mind. That's pretty cool. But it's only a unit. You can only select one unit. That's the limit of that. And so it's got to be a regular unit with its leaders combined to get a lot of models this way. But the other thing you could look at doing with this would be like any other regiment. Let's keep that in mind. So it doesn't have to be Cadians. I don't necessarily say Cadians are the best way to use it. It's just an option. And another thing you could do your Krieg. Krieg are a great idea because they're so resilient. And so if you are bringing them in from reserves because you're getting taken out by your opponent, right? They're going to have, especially if you have a field marshal with them, you're going to have the extra feel no pains. You're going to have the better saves, potentially with these. And so depending on what orders that you give them, right? You can bring them in. You have a commander with them. You can order take cover. And then you can have them with the 5-up feel no pain. And that's pretty resilient. And then if you have the medic, you're bringing D3 back a turn, right? So the Krieg still work really wonderful with the transport that was originally meant for them to use. And that's a great strategy also. I do highly recommend them. Well, what about other stuff too? I always talk about the same units, right? Oh, Cadian Sergeant Steel, you're always talking about Cadians. Okay, fine. Ogrins. I would highly recommend 3 to 6 Ogrins with a Hades breaching drill. Surprise your opponent with a volley of rapid fire ripper guns that are going to be strength 5, -2 if shooting the closest target, flat 2 damage. You are ripping apart Space Marines. And especially if you have 6 of these, that is a lot of shots because they are 3 shots each, rapid fire 3. Rapid fire 3 shots each. So that's a lot of damage if you had 6 Ogrins with a Hades breaching drill just popping in. You could also do your Bullgrins, right? You could do 6 Bullgrins, 3 Bullgrins, and that's a great way. I'm just going to put one on the table, and that's a great way to be resilient. You give them the extra wound, or you give them the 4-up invuln save, and you bring them with the breacher drill. You set them on an objective, and then you chuckle while your opponent struggles to remove them off the table. And then if they get close to you, you now have 2 melee units. 2 units that are good at melee that your opponent might not want to get into a fight with. The Hades breaching drill can, it can damage knights even. It's a pretty tough weapon with that 6 attacks, hitting on 4, strength 9, -4, d6 plus 2 damage. You could do a lot of wounds. It could kill Terminators if it gets a lucky hit. Take 1 or 2 out if they fail their invuln save. And then with the flat 2 damage on the Bullgrim Mauls, that's also more Space Marines and more elites and tough characters that you can take out with a combo like that. But here's the other thing I wouldn't normally recommend, or I haven't recommended thus far. I'm going to bring up for the first time ever. So you have Hades breaching drills. I'm just throw the other ones back here just because I think they're beautiful. All right, you got a Hades breaching drill. What could be a maximum effectiveness of firepower to bring in with a drill? It could be Ogrins. It could be Cadians with first rank fire, second rank fire, right? It could be Krieg with the same way. But here's the other thing you might not have thought of. Infantry squad. Oh, what is this, Cadian Sergeant Steel? We haven't even had an infantry squad video yet from you. Yep, that's right. And so the first time I'm talking about them is with the Hades breaching drill. Now, it doesn't have to just be infantry squads. What I'm about to describe to you would also work with Krieg. But I wanted to particularly talk about it with the infantry squads. Here's why. There's a cool little combo you can do with all this. All right. First thing, Cadian infantry squads, if you don't know, they can take 1 special weapon for every 10 models. Or if you have 20 models, then you could duplicate a special weapon. So Melta, Plasma, Flamer, Sniper Rifle, on and on, right? They get access to all the weapons. So this is based upon the old kits. You can also do some really cool weapons on your sergeants, including bolt guns, which are rapid fire 1. Or you could do plasma pistols or las pistols, on and on. You could put a platoon command squad with them. You can also put a Cadian Castellan with them. This is where it starts to get a little bit interesting. So let me explain why. Here's what I might recommend. You could take a heavy weapons team with them too. One heavy weapons team for every 10 models. So if you have a 20-man squad, 2 of them.
Say you take heavy bolters, okay? Say you take a plasma gun for every 10, so it's 2 plasma guns. You attach a platoon command squad. They have a plasma gunner option. You put a plasma pistol on the officer of that unit. Then you attach a Cadian Castellan also with a plasma pistol. When they arrive, because of the January 2024 balanced data slate changes, when they arrive, you can issue them an order because they're set up on the battlefield. One of the orders you could give a unit like this would be first rank fire, second rank fire. Okay. Where are you going with this, Sergeant Steele? Right? Where are you going? Where I'm going with this is that you could absolutely maximize your damage against units like Space Marines with a unit like this. And here's how that combo is going to shake out. So here's how that's going to shake out. You could theoretically put a plasma pistol on each one of your sergeants, okay? Mine are modeled with bolt guns. Let's assume I put plasma pistols on them, all right? So you have a plasma pistol on each sergeant. You have a plasma pistol on your officer in the command squad. You have a plasma pistol on the Cadian Castellan. Then you have a plasma gun in a platoon command squad and in each 10-man section of the infantry squads. So you have 3 plasma guns, okay? 3 plasma guns and 4 plasma pistols. So if you give them first rank fire, second rank fire, what that does is gives you +1 additional shot on your rapid fire weapons. Your rapid fire weapons include your plasma guns as well as your las guns. So that means your plasma guns, you will have 9 shots if within 12 inches with your 3 plasma guns. 9 shots plus your 4 plasma pistols. So that totals out to 13 plasma shots. 13 plasma gun shots hitting on 4s or hitting on 3s with your castle. That's a lot of plasma for guard. Then, if you have the heavy bolters, they are 3 shots at sustained hits 1. So they're strength 5, -1, flat 2 damage. That means, don't forget, that means you could generate additional shots with your sustained hits. Now, we didn't give them take aim. We gave them first rank fire, second rank fire to boost the number of plasma shots. So here's the other thing you could do with the Cadian Castellan. It gives the whole unit sustained hits 1. So now your heavy bolters already have it, but now your plasma have it too. So you're 13 plasma gun shots with sustained hits 1 hitting on 4s. You could generate an additional 2 shots. So on that looks like you're getting about 9 hits, 8 to 9 hits on average with your plasma guns. 8 to 9 hits. If you overcharge and you're shooting regular Space Marines, you're wounding on 2s. They don't have an invuln save, and with the high AP, you're going to chew right through them. You could easily, with this right here, wipe out a 10-man unit of Intercessor Space Marines. Gone. Once you do all the math, you add in the las guns, so you put a Militarum in the platoon squad also, right? So on and so forth. Once you do all that, you're wiping out a 10-man unit of Intercessors, more than likely. That's really strong. That's a lot of points that you just deleted off the table with 1 infantry squad. Then, this is the best part. Infantry squad's unit ability is that if they're on an objective, if they're within range of an objective marker, they get the benefits of cover. So then they're also going to stick around. That means now, if you use your Hades breaching drill to bring this blob in, you have a 4-up armor save without using any stratagems or orders. You're already there. Now, of course, your opponents could have ignores cover, and that could hurt you a little bit. Don't also forget the combo of having your Scout Sentinels. They're the best unit in the guard, so you could then give this reroll 1s, fishing for more sustained hits, fishing for more plasma hits, fishing for more heavy bolter sustained hits, and more las gun fire. It starts to get pretty wild pretty quick, and this could become really effective. definitely think about maybe even infantry squads with your Hades breaching drills, especially since you can combo something like the Cadian Castellan with the infantry squads to give them sustained hits 1 on all of their ranged weapons. It's a really cool combo that you can do. So that really creates a lot of diverse ways that you can use your Hades breaching drills. Now, it's any Astra Militarum infantry unit. So anything with those keywords can go inside of this. So there's a lot of different combos that you can do. I'm not going to cover them all here. Keep that in mind. I just wanted to share a couple really cool ones. Bring in giant blobs. You could bring in lots of plasma and heavy bolters. You could bring in lots of las guns, flamers, and meltas. Don't forget, your melta guns won't be in melta range, right? Because you still got to be more than 9 inches from enemy models, but you are in range to shoot them. And maybe that can help you take out a vehicle or some Terminators or something tough on the battlefield. And with your Krieg and all of your different unit abilities, right? Cadian sticky objective, infantry squads cover save, Krieg's resiliency, you can get in there and capture the backfield objectives and score your points. If you're playing narrative, you can do some amazing stuff to disrupt your opponents in the mission. The downside to the Hades breaching drill is if you intend to make a charge with it and you fail your 9-inch charge, all your opponent has to do is walk away. That's it. You have a 6-inch movement, and if they start walking away, you're probably not going to catch up. So that does put the Hades breaching drill at a bit of risk of just not doing anything. So you got to keep that in mind. It's a bit of a gamble. So I might even recommend having multiple. What I used to do, I haven't done it in 10th edition, but what I used to do in past editions is I used to bring multiple of these, and I would deep strike them in a big wall of Hades breaching drills. And I would look at my opponent and I'd just say, statistically, one of these will make the charge. they would, and the fear would set it. They would look at me and then really wonder, like, oh no, what have I done? Cadian Sergeant Steele is an absolute madman, and yes, I am. And he's about to just rip apart whatever it is that's on the battlefield. I actually did a summary battle report with Wargear, and it's available on YouTube. I think I'll even link it in this video. It's just a summary. We didn't have time to film a full battle report at Adepticon that year, but we did it, and I used Hades breaching drills in that battle report. It was a lot of fun. Had a blast playing against him and his beautiful army with these, and just popping in and surprising him. The last thing that I want to talk about that I might recommend as a combo with these two is Kazarkin. Now, obviously, you don't get any benefit from their scout ability, but you have all of their cool weapons, their plasma, their melta, their sniper rifle, their hotshot las guns. So that does work well with the Hades breaching drill in order to surgically insert a unit that itself does not have deep strike. And so the Hades breaching drill helps you get a workaround on your Kazarkin to use them like they were scions. It's a bit of a points tax, but don't look at it that way. That's a very narrow way of looking at that. Do not forget that the Hades breaching drill is a resilient melee threat. It is not just a points tax in order to get deep strike on a unit. It is a threat. It is something your opponent doesn't want to mess with. They do not want to fight it most of the time. And so if you stick this between your opponent's strong units and your infantry squad, they're not going to want to come after you unless they can destroy this unit before getting to this unit, right? So that helps keep your Kazarkin alive, or even your infantry squads, or your Krieg, or your Cadians, or your Catechins, because I never mentioned them. Sorry, Catechin players. But this unit will act as a threat and also give any of those units, including Kazarkin, the ability to deep strike onto the table with their attached leaders, which is the cool part, right? Bring in any of those leaders you want. Creed? Sure. But you could bring in your attached infantry leaders with your Astra Militarum infantry squads and bring them onto the table with your Hades breaching drill. Think about the cool combos you can do. Think about melee. Think about heavy shooting. You can take out whole squads of Space Marines. You can capture objectives. You could hide in ruins far, far away from the breaching drill, right? 9 inches away. 9 inches away in any direction. Any direction, right? That's a lot of distance you could cover with one of these. So just keep that in mind. It's a great way to play and a great thing to try out. Some of the armies I might not recommend this against would be Gene Stealer Cult It would be other horde armies in general. So some people can build their armies that way now. It's not as clear cut as it used to be. Sometimes orcs, sometimes Adeptus Mechanicus, and many other armies can become horde armies depending on how you build them. So then the Hades Breaching Drill starts to become more limited in your deployment options. So that's the downsides to it. Just keep that in mind. That's it for today. So definitely look into this unit. I highly recommend it. I think it's a lot of fun. It's fun for you. It's fun for your opponent. They're going to see you playing guard in a way that they never imagined was possible. And that's really cool and always creates a unique and fun experience, right? We've all fought the Leman Russes. We've all fought the hordes of artillery and infantry. I'm tired of seeing walls of manticores and basilisks. Bring something like a breaching drill, shake up your local meta, and have fun. So that's all for the video. So as always, don't forget to like, subscribe, watch my other videos, please. I do a lot of unit reviews. Hades Breaching Drill is just the most recent transport vehicle that I'm covering. I've also done the Crassus and the Chimera already, so check those out as well if you're interested. If you want the cool clear movement trays that I use here. And yes, that is Color Sergeant Kell for anybody recognizing. So for anybody who wants these clear movement trays, there is a link in the video description below, and you can get 10% off Squad Marks clear movement trays and use these to move your units around quickly, as you can see I do in the video on the battle report. I've also shown in this battle report, or in this video, it's not a battle report, mini mag trays here. That's this that I'm using the infantry squad. So neat little metal trays. As you can tell, it's a little different, right? This is not the size it's meant to be. It's just the one I had available. I didn't have any of these big ones in 25 millimeters. But I like the clear movement trays, but there's also these available. And like I said, they have these nice slotted tabs on them. You can pick them up. Check those out as well. I'll put a link in the description below where you can check them out too. I do not have an affiliate discount for these movement trays, but I do for the Squad Marks clear acrylic movement trays as well. Also, one last thing I want to shout out. Thank you, Toke. He painted this amazing Cadian Sergeant Steel model here. And it's one of my most prized possessions. And I'm super flattered to have gotten this model from him. He put the Plague Marine on there, which is my arch nemesis for anybody who's watched my battle reports against Jeff. And I really just love it. Oh my God. And the grit on his face, this camera is not capturing it well, but it's really amazing. And I just wanted to show that off too. So thank you, Toke, for doing that for me. And if you see the video, I absolutely love it. And I cannot wait to use it in more games against the Death Guard, because that's where he deserves to be on the battlefield, taking out those bubonic heretic Astartes. All right. That's it for today, everybody. Remember, have fun wargaming. And Cadia stand.